All right, we're going to start off getting right to the heart of the problem, which is this. If your clinic uses iPads and you incorporate dermoscopy into your patient care, there's an obvious need to upload those dermoscopy images into the patient's chart. But here's the problem. When I search for the iPad connectors that are currently available, that is, the cases that are used on our iPads, which include the magnetic ring that allows us to directly attach the dermatoscope, we see 5 different options available. Now, some of these are compatible with more than one version of iPad, but still, now look at the total list of iPad models that have ever come out, and there are far more than 5 versions. And invariably, each version is slightly different from the other. Cameras don't exactly line up, and the screen size is a little different. And, point being that the case for one often will not fit the case for the other. And so that's the challenge. If your office uses iPads and the version of iPad that you use is not amongst those that have a case available, how then do you connect your dermatoscope to the iPad? Well, one option that I like and that DermLite has made available is this clamp. Now, I have another video or two about the clamp, but as you can see here, it slips over your device, whether it be an iPad, Android phone, iPhone, whichever. As long as the lens is within this range here, then this is compatible with a number of different devices. But let me show you here on an iPad. This is how it would appear on a typical iPad. It actually screws down. You don't want to screw it down too tight, but it clamps down, hence the name. And just to be honest, the feedback that I've received from clinics is that they would prefer a more elegant solution, because the two things that they report being a hassle with this is that the clamp sometimes will get bumped out of place and need to be readjusted and screwed back down. Now, personally, I'm used to how they work. To do that takes 2 seconds, but some clinics prefer just to avoid that even being a possibility. But the other thing too is the profile. You can see here the clamp does stick out a bit. Many would just prefer something that is along the lines of these cases because there is no getting around it. They are more elegant because the attachment area for your dermatoscope, when the dermatoscope is not connected, it's flatter, it's less obtrusive, it's just a sleeker overall design. And that's what we hear from clinics, is that they would prefer something lower profile, sleeker, less prone to getting knocked out of place. So in other words, they would prefer not to use the clamp, but they have iPads which are not amongst these 5 different models. So with that, let's talk about the HandyScope. Now, I have another video which actually shows a little bit more about the HandyScope and its size and how it works, and I'll put a link to that video below. But here's the point I want to make with the HandyScope as it relates to this specific issue. HandyScopes, they were made in a partnership with PhotoFinder, and I don't want to get too sidetracked with that, but the point is that they were made specifically for taking photos of patient lesions, as opposed to individual use of the dermatoscope for diagnostic uses. The HandyScope is specifically geared towards being attached to a device and taking pictures. And as such, it comes available with a number of connection options that are not available with other dermatoscope lines. Now, as we can see here, we can see these rings, and then we also have, I believe they call it a wing adapter, this design here. And what these do, they allow you to attach the needed adapter to your device, whichever device it may be. And that if your office uses iPads that are not amongst those which have a case available, that's where the HandyScope really shines, in my opinion. As you can see here, they're small, lightweight, and with the magnetic system, very easy to attach and remove. And when they are detached and you simply need to carry around your iPad for standard documentation of office visits, you will only be left with this and not a clamp, which again can be bumped or moved. So again, don't get me wrong, I'm personally a fan of the clamp, but I have to recognize that, just being honest, some people struggle with hand-eye coordination and getting everything lined up. So if and when it does get bumped and needs to be realigned or reattached, for some it can cause a problem. So again, if your clinic has that need to attach a dermatoscope directly to iPads, and the version of iPad that you use is not amongst those that have a case available, and you don't want to mess with the clamp, then you may want to consider investing in the DermLite HandyScope. Thanks.